Hey guys, I want to welcome you to Wednesday's edition of Journey Through the Gospels. Today we're in Matthew 25, and if today's video sounds a little similar to yesterday's, it's because Matthew 24 and 25, Jesus is essentially talking about the same things, the last days or the end times. And today's we're going to look at the first part of Matthew 25 where he talks about the parable of the 10 virgins. And Jesus says, "At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight the cry rang out, 'Here's the bridegroom! Come out to meet him!' Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out.' 'No,' they replied, 'there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves.' But while they are on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later the others also came. 'Sir, sir,' they said, 'open the door for us.' But he replied, 'I tell you the truth, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour.'" And that last verse may sound similar to yesterday's video where Jesus talked about watching. Now, we have to understand, as Jesus is telling this parable, when he tells a parable is a story where he uses symbols and metaphors of things that people would understand, but they represent spiritual things. And so in this story, when we're reading this, we have to understand a couple of things. We have to understand the marriage during that time. And then the other thing is we have to understand the characters. And the first thing, when we talk about the marriage during that time, there was an engagement period when a groom would go to a bride's father and ask him for his daughter's hand in marriage. There would be what in today we would call an engagement. During that time it was a betrothal, and during that time the husband-to-be would go back to his father's house and would build a room onto their house for his bride when they got married. And between the time when the bridegroom asks the father for his daughter's hand in marriage, there would be a period of time while that husband-to-be is building that house or building that room onto his father's house. Sometimes it could be up to a year for him to build that room. And the thing is that the bride would never know when the husband was coming to take her to get married. It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a year. She never knew. And so the thing is that bride-to-be and her bridesmaids, they just had to be ready at any moment. The groom could come. At any time he could come and show up. And when he would show up, as it is in this story, they would say, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming." And so they would have to be ready. And so we see in this story, we see that there are 5 wise virgins and 10 unwise virgins, the bridesmaids. Half of them are ready, the other half are not ready. The half that are ready get to go to the wedding feast. The other half, they don't, because they weren't ready. Now, we have to also understand the characters in this story. In this story, the bridegroom in here represents Jesus. It represents his returning. The bride in the story represents the church, represents his followers, because Scripture talks about, it uses the symbolism of Jesus being the groom and the church being the bride of Christ. And so in this story, it pictures Jesus the groom coming for his church, coming to marry his church in a sense, and coming for his bride. He's returning for his bride. You might remember in John chapter 14 that Jesus told his disciples, said that he was going away to prepare a place for them. And if he went to prepare a place, that he would come back to take them to be with him, where they would be with him always. And it's kind of that same picture of the groom coming to get his bride, the groom going to build a place for his bride, and then coming to get his bride and to take her, marry her, and take her to be with him. And so the whole point of the story is this, that very last verse that Jesus says, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." We never know the day or the hour when Jesus is returning. We never know the day or the hour when the bridegroom is coming to take his bride, the church, with him. We just have to be ready. We have to be like those wise virgins. We have to always be ready. He could come today. He could come tonight. He could come next week. It could be 100 years from now. We don't know, but we have to live our lives as if he could come back any moment. My question to you is this, are you ready? Are you ready? If Jesus comes back today, are you ready? Because you don't get a second chance. If he comes back today, are you ready? And if you're not, you need to get ready. If you've never surrendered your life to Christ, you need to say, "Jesus, forgive me. I believe that you're the Son of God. I believe you died on the cross. Forgive me of my sin. I want to follow you, Jesus. I want to make you the Lord of my life." If you've done that before, but you have turned away from the Lord, you know that your heart is not right with the Lord, then you need to return to him and say, "Lord, forgive me. I haven't been living for you. Lord, I rededicate my life to following you. I want to be ready if you return." Because the Lord wants everyone to be ready. Every day he gives us another opportunity to turn to him. Today may be your last opportunity to turn to him. And I pray that today that you would turn to him and that you would be ready when he returns. And that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow we're going to be in Matthew 26. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow.